Whether you're outside grilling, changing diapers, or just trying to catch a breath, the Young Dad Podcast is your spot for real conversations about fatherhood, manhood, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jay, and I sit down with dads, experts, and everyday men to talk about the joys, the struggles, and the lessons that come with raising kids and building a meaningful life. From mental health and relationships to faith, family, and the funny stuff only dads understand. YDP is here to remind you that you're not doing this alone. So grab a juice box, grab a snack, kick back, and join the conversation because fatherhood doesn't come with a manual, but it should come with a podcast. Only dads understand. What if the freedom you've been praying for is actually simpler than you think? Today's guest has spent the last 18 years helping people untangle trauma, shake off emotional knots, and reconnect with a Jesus who actually heals. She's walked through PTSD, anxiety, depression, and darkness, and she's helped others walk out of theirs. This episode is about real freedom, not church cliches, not overcomplicated healing, just biblical truth, emotional intelligence, and the life God actually intended for his people. Because staying stuck isn't holy and getting free isn't complicated. So, whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing dirty diapers, or maybe you finally got a moment to sit down, relax, and put your favorite podcast up on the TV on YouTube, thanks for being here and thanks for tuning in. Today's guest is Elena, communicator, author of Untwist Me, musician, entrepreneur, and a woman of fierce faith. For nearly 2 decades, she has spoken on stages across the country, helping people navigate trauma, heal emotionally, strengthen spiritually, and fall more deeply in love with Jesus. With experience working with traffic victims, serving in a rape crisis center, offering pastoral care, and coaching countless individuals, Elena brings a unique blend of biblical truth, scientific understanding, and emotional intelligence. She has lived the pain she teaches about trauma, PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and she has lived the freedom too. Now she lives in the mountains of North Carolina with her two beautiful daughters, helping people simplify healing so they can finally live the life God intended. So make sure you grab your juice box, grab a snack, and let's jump into the conversation today. And of course, welcome Elena to the show. Elena, welcome. Of
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
course, I'm happy to have you. So I guess just tell us your story. Tell me your story a little bit about kind of where you've been, a little bit about what you've been through, and yeah, just the story of you.
Okay, I'll try to condense it because the story is very long and elaborate. But I think I grew up like Reform Orthodox, so it was a Orthodox slash Protestant church, and so my understanding of God was a very distant and angry God. And in my teen years, I rejected God, so I wasn't interested. I didn't want to believe. I think I maybe I wanted to, but what I was shown was nothing that was appealing to me. And so I actually found myself around 17, 18 years old where I was feeling depressed and I felt empty and I didn't understand why. And I found a Bible at my parents' house. And my parents were great. Like they were missionaries and whatever knowledge of God they had, they were very authentic in how they lived it. And so that was such a good thing for me to witness. But my own encounter was I picked up a Bible, I read about Jesus, totally was floored by it. Like that was not the Jesus I grew up hearing about. Like he was brilliant. He was always, with the wrong people, always helping people. They all would, try to catch him in something and he would just say something like he was just somebody that I never expected. And I remember just saying a prayer and I didn't have a grid for like a sinner's prayer or anything like that. I was just like, God, if this is you, I want this, pointing to what I was reading. And I really felt like the presence came in my house that day. And like I thought somebody was there and I was like looking around and there was nobody there, but I knew something had happened to me. And then from that point, I mean, I was what you would really what a regular Christian is, but I would be what you would call like a radical Christian. I wanted to lead everybody to this Jesus. And so I would go to colleges and tell everybody and speak about him. And, I just was so hungry to know more. And so I would attend like little prayer groups and, all the different things. And then fast forward several years, I met my ex husband now in church and thought he was a great guy, he had a hidden pill addiction that I had no knowledge of, had no idea, no grid for that. Ended up getting married after dating for about 2 years. Completely was blindsided by this whole hidden world that he had and all that comes with it with addiction. There's a lot of sociopathic behavior, a lot of other layered issues, narcissism, all the things. And try to make that work for many years. I didn't find out about his addiction until 3 days before I gave birth to our first daughter. I just thought his behavior was terrible. I thought he was a jerk. And I was like, who did I marry? But anyhow, so that was what occurred. And we ended up finally, after about 7 years, he finally chose his addiction and drugs. And so the aftermath of all of that was very brutal for me. And I had had some, of course, childhood traumas. I was a victim of sexual abuse and things like that. And so all of my trauma just sort of caught up to me. And I found myself in the pit of hell. And all the years of the abuse from being in that marriage, it just caught up and it all hit the fan. I was a mess. Was just not sleeping. I had nightmares every night, and I couldn't believe that I was in such a pit. And I at first didn't want to get help, and I was just like, I'm just going to die here. I was very suicidal. And then finally, I started noticing things like my personality was kind of like starting to split, and I felt a little bit erratic and crazy. And I had worked in the mental health space, so I knew what was happening to me and the symptoms, and it freaked me out. And so I finally decided to get well. And so I was so angry with God that because I had been so radically saved. And I think I had the belief that as long as I did the right things, I'd be fine. And when I was married and all these things happened, I couldn't make sense of it because I had done the right thing, and I had followed Jesus and obeyed him, and it really messed with my Western theology. Like, how could I be in this? And I pushed God away and decided, I'm going to just do it on my own. I tried the Jesus thing and he failed me, Anyway, and so I went on this journey. I went on a journey to figure out how to get well. And I saw a therapist. I went to see her for many years. And then I did, all the things. Like I did all these different practices and new age practices and manifesting and mind work and brain work and, all of the different things that you could possibly do to get well. I became obsessed with being well. And what I found was I was getting well, like I was healed, but I wasn't free. And so I hit a point where I realized, I was constantly, it was like an obsessive thing of wellness. And I remembered when I found Jesus, how free I felt. And I was like, God, if it's possible, could you set me free? Like, I remember what that felt like. And I feel like that is so far from me right now. Like, I can't even reach it. I don't even know if you can do it, but if you can, would you do it? A- And so then I literally went on a fast for 21 days, kind of out of desperation. Fasted and I prayed and I sought the Lord. And day 21, his presence just filled my living room like I've never experienced it before. It was so tangible, so thick. It was like I was weeping, and it was like he was just removing all these layers. And it was like this supernatural encounter with God. And then I was free, and I knew I was never going to struggle this way again. Like, in the sense of before I was healthy and I was managing everything, and I felt like I could just manage, but I was just a moment away from a total meltdown. But when Jesus came and set me free, I knew that I didn't have to manage anymore. Like, I was never going to be a slave to all of these issues. And that was many, many years ago. And so since that time, I just started realizing how complicated the mental and emotional health space has become. And when it's complicated, it's overwhelming, and we don't want to do anything about it because it's just too much. If I don't understand it, I can't do anything about it. And so that's when the book kind of was born. I had never intended to write a book about it. That was not in my wheelhouse. I was busy, running my businesses and raising my girls. But it just sort of, I felt like a nudge from the Lord to write it. And I wrote it so quickly, like in a couple weeks. But it was like, 18 years in the making of all the things that I had observed on my wellness journey, like the people who recovered and those who didn't. And so that's kind of how the book came to be. And so that's where I am at this point.
I love it. What a cool story. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, like, when you were, like, in those, like, battles, like, in the pits of hell that you, like, push God and you push Jesus away, because I think that's so common, right? Like, a
Yeah.
lot of people feel like, "Oh, well, I've been trying this thing, I've been trying to do this thing, I've been living this way, like, my whole life, and look where I am now," divorce or abuse or, combination of those things, or, there's this huge thing, right, that's affecting me now. It's like, even after everything I've done, like, quote, unquote, "right," it's like I'm still having this huge issue. So I think a lot of people turn away from God. I know that's something I did during my divorce that, um, I I regret doing, but yeah, I think it's something that's really common, and unfortunately, a lot of people do. But I mean, when you're hurt, you just don't know what else to do, like, right? You're just in kind of that space, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna figure, like you said, I'm just gonna do this alone. I'm just gonna do this on my own.
Yeah, and I think what I definitely noticed for me as well is like, you're right. People, the tendency is when I'm in pain, I push God away and I hardened my heart towards God and then I embrace my pain. And when we do that, you actually become more sick. I wish what I had done is hardened my heart towards the pain and opened it towards God and softened it towards God. Because and not and if you reject the pain, meaning like you don't take it on and make your identity out of it, because when we do that, that's what holds us, and then we push God away, and then make it harder in the long run for ourselves. But if we do the opposite, where we harden our hearts in regards to pain. And it's like, okay, this is, let's look at it just very tactical and not embrace it and hold it and make it our identity and, all in it, then it doesn't have as much access. And if we open our lives to God, then He can heal us and walk us through how to recover well, how to heal well without all this additional baggage that sometimes comes when we try to do things ourselves and make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. No, it usually ends up worse when we try to do it ourselves, and
Always.
we don't trust, and we don't have that like faith and everything. So you're very open about your past, your trauma. You mentioned some things when you're telling your story very briefly there. What did your healing actually look like? So after that moment you had, what did your healing look like from then after?
I think the first thing I had to do was get really brutally honest with myself. Without honesty, you will never recover. And I think we like to tell a story to ourselves, and I try to tell stories to myself of things. But until I got honest with how I even got here, like maybe the divorce and the addiction was not my fault, but what did I not see prior to that?
So what did your healing actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I had to do was be really honest with myself. Like, I think sometimes we don't want to acknowledge our pain or we don't want to acknowledge why we got there to begin with. Like, maybe with my situation, like, some things were not my fault, but I think looking back, it's like, did I miss some signs? Maybe I, didn't see the patterns and like just being brutally honest, like I had to be honest about my anger towards God, my disappointments. And the more honest I became, I laid a foundation to actually start dealing with stuff and start taking responsibility for my healing. And I think what a lot of people don't, when we talk about like healing and mental emotional health, it's always painted like, oh, you're going to heal. And it's this, very romanticized picture. But honestly, healing is brutal. Really doing the work is awful and nobody talks about it. And it's like, I often call it like the wilderness and the wrestle, because you got to wrestle with God about, where you're at with things. I remember like lashing out at God. I was so angry. But in my doing that, I was actually healing. I was allowing him into those broken spaces. I wasn't creating a narrative that felt better or sounded better. I was just honest about it. And when I was honest, I was opening my heart and presenting the ugliness that was there. And then I had to like really wrestle with like, where I wanted to be and where I currently was. Like if you think about like the wilderness, when the Israelites go into the wilderness and God does these miracles, he kind of starts setting them free. But then they look back at Egypt with rose colored glasses. They're like, well, in Egypt, we had food. Let's go back to Egypt. And we do that in the healing process. We're like, we want to be free, but it's so much easier to do what we used to do and have the same patterns. And we almost look at it like that. So it was this battle and it was suffering and it was a lot of like choosing this when I want to do this, choosing to be honest and take responsibility and choosing to live a lifestyle that was where I wasn't in control, where I wasn't in sin and I was submitting myself to God and dying to the flesh. And it was brutal and it was awful and I hated it. The whole time I hated it. It's not a season of life that you love, but it's a season of life that is necessary or you will never cross over. And in order to even go there, you got to get honest about all your pain and confront it. And it's amazing to me how many people they don't want to go there, so they will numb. So that's why people drink, they take medication, they do all these things because facing difficult emotions is uncomfortable and it's hard. And in the Western world, we don't like it. We don't want anything that feels uncomfortable. But without it, you will never access freedom without facing it, without doing the brutal, hard work and addressing and feeling all that you need to feel. Like you can't move on.
And I love what you said. I think it's so accurate, right? That it's healing is so like romanticized, like in media and whatnot. It's like, oh, I'm on a healing journey, or I'm in my healing era, or whatever kind of thing. It's like I don't really think you are, but it's like good for you if you actually are. But it's like it is very like romanticized. It's like, oh, I'm healing because I just left that situation, but I didn't do any work, kind of thing. But now I'm
Mhm.
healing because of this next thing I'm wrapped up in, kind of thing, is healing me, kind of thing.
And it goes to like, it's the lack of honesty about it. And that's
Hmm.
the hardest piece. It's like if people, when they were saying all this stuff and often we know the right things to do, but we don't do them and we'll talk about them. But it's like we're not honest with ourselves. And until you get honest with yourself, like I remember in the beginning, I was like, I don't want to heal. I'm so tired. I don't care. I'll just, I remember in the beginning, like I didn't want to heal, and I had to get honest about it. Like I didn't want to heal. I didn't want to do the work. I wanted to sit in my pain and feel sorry for myself. And I had to be honest with that place that I was in instead of saying, yeah, I'm on a healing journey and like saying all the things. It was just not
Yeah.
true.
You can
It's
say
like,
it all you want, but like if you're not actually doing it, that's when like, you can tell. Like I have experience with an individual who said they're, like, all healed and stuff, but the way that they act sometimes is still very, very bitter and still very much, like, the same. It's like, you haven't changed. Like, you
yeah,
haven't changed at all. Like, it's like, the pattern like, if you truly had healed and changed, like, your patterns are gonna be different, your behavior is gonna be different,
yeah,
your tolerance level is gonna be different, your patience is gonna be different, everything's gonna be different, right? Like you were
yeah.
saying, like, you had left that old person behind and you stepped into this new person. But it's like you haven't. You're just putting up a facade. You've just tricked people, kinda thing. You've tricked others into believing like you were this little, and I hate to say it, but it's like a lot of people who say like, "Oh, I'm on a healing journey," are just like stuck in like a victimhood kinda thing. They're stuck in like a victim mentality, which is like so comfortable, like in society. It's like it's so comfortable to be in that place, like, "Oh, let me just be the victim because everyone feels sorry for me and I get everyone's sympathy." But then I don't have to do any work and I don't have to make any changes because work is hard and changes are hard. And I'd rather just everyone feel sympathy for me because that feels good. And let me just go on and continue my bad behavior because now I'm a victim and everything's justified.
But I think there's a piece of that, but I think the other piece is it's not that even people lie to others. I think they lie to themselves.
100%.
Because because that goes back to the honesty factor. It's like if I tell myself a story that is more palatable for me, that I am on a healing journey and blah, blah, blah. This is a story I'm telling myself. And I believe that story. And I've
Hmm.
convinced myself of that. The Bible says, you know them by their fruit. So the fruit speaks. And of course, I know people like that as well, but the fruit speaks for itself. It's like if you're leaving bad fruit, then you cannot produce what you are not. You cannot be what you are not, no matter what you say. And I think we as a culture don't talk enough about the challenge of healing and like do it, but it's worth it. Do the hard work, but it's worth it to do the hard work. And instead of glamorizing on the healing journey that I'm actually not on.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't think we celebrate it enough, right? I don't think we actually celebrate like true like healing and true, like, recovery and, like, those things enough. I think we see those stories of the people who've done it, like yourself and many others who have, and we are just like, "Oh, good for that person. Like, they're great, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do that," kinda thing. It's like, that's not gonna be me, or it
But
could
I
never be me
also
kinda thing.
But I also think it's because we've made it so complicated. So we've made the mental and emotional health space so complicated and so overwhelming. So we almost feel powerless against it. And that was something that I would find a lot. Like, for example, if you're somebody who struggles with anxiety, which I used to have severe anxiety and panic attacks, if you were to go to a therapist office, we would talk about all my feelings and all the things. They would probably give me a medication and send me on my way. And then I'd come back and do the same thing. But if you strip anxiety down, it's not a complicated thing. All anxiety is a patterned way of thinking. No therapist is going to tell you that. It's like, hey, this is just a pattern. You can wire it in and wire it out just the same way. And so, if there is a person who's struggling with anxiety, like something that they could do, and I kind of have like hacks in my book of different things people can do, but knowing that it's a pattern way of thinking, like what I used to do is before I'd go to sleep, I would just think about all the horrible things that had happened in my life. And I'd feel so depressed. And then I'd wake up not wanting to wake up the next day. And then I recognize like this is just a pattern. I just don't stop my thoughts. I just run with these thoughts. And it's no wonder that I feel so negative and I don't want to face the next day. So what you could do is if you're in a zone or you're feeling negative, or give yourself 5 minutes or 10 minutes to sit there, to have crazy racing thoughts, or to wallow and feel sorry for yourself and pity yourself. Do what you need to do, feel what you need to feel, because acting like it doesn't exist is not going to give you healing either. But if you feel what you need to feel and let your mind do what it needs to do within a time frame, then you're addressing it and then you go, okay, I'm going to do this for 5 or 10 minutes and then I'm going to get up and do something productive and I'm going to get out of this state. But when you sit there and you say, okay, I'm going to feel sorry for myself for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to get up and do something productive. When we do that, then we're processing it. But at the same time, we're not living in that victim zone.
Yeah, and I think most people don't wanna do that. Most people don't wanna get out of that. Most people wanna stay in that victim mindset. They wanna live there because it's easier, right? It's more
Yes.
comfortable. It gives you excuses. It justifies your behavior. It justifies you not having to go and do this, that, or the other, and it just justifies you. And if people can find a justification for their shitty behavior, they'll take that out most of the time. Very few
Yeah.
people won't. Very few people will be able to recognize those self-destructive patterns and correct them, but outside of that, like, very few people will not just go with this, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna that feels right, that feels good," kinda thing.
Yeah. Cause it's comfortable. It's what I know. I
Mhm.
think there's like that piece of it that is comfortable. It's what I know. Maybe it gives me attention or, I'm just used to it. But then the other piece is like, even if I wanted to, I don't know how. And when I think about doing the work, I feel overwhelmed by it. And that's where the simplicity of it comes in. And it's like, you can still feel this way, but limit the way you feel. Give yourself 5 or 10 minutes. I don't think people know like that to do something like that. To be like, okay, I can still feel what I feel, but then I'm going to do something productive. And at the end of the day, with anything, if you don't want to, no one can help you.
Mhm.
You have to want freedom. No one can want it for you. I mean, we can, but we're not going to be able to, set you free. You have to want freedom enough to do what you need to do to get there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, yeah, no one can do it for us. No one can do it for you, and you have to do it yourself. And yeah, it's not as far away as most people think it is.
Yeah. And I think just do like, you just got to, I would tell anybody, we might have a bunch of things that we're struggling with, but it's like simplify that. The simpler you make life, the happier you are. So it's like, what is one thing you can do? You can't eat an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? It's with one bite at a time. You can't build Rome in a day. It's like, what is one thing you can do? So if you're obsessively having those thoughts, you can do the time thing. You could look at your routine. Like, the truth is like we're connected mind, body, soul, spirit. So even our food affects our mood. Like if you eat negatively, you actually have anxiety and depression. If your gut and your body isn't healthy, it actually links to depression and anxiety. And it's a physical thing that is actually affecting the brain. It's not just your thoughts. But on the flip side, it's like if your thoughts are negative, you could actually give yourself tumors and ulcers and cancer if you have a negative thinking pattern. So it's like if you look at the fact that your mind, body, soul, spirit is all connected, you have to address all of those things to be fully healed. Maybe it's just looking at one aspect of your life that you can change. To be like, okay, I'm drinking all the time. Drinking makes me more anxious. It makes everyone more anxious. It makes you all more depressed. We think it's relaxing us. It does, but when you're not drinking, then you feel like you need it because you can't relax, but it's your body switching mechanisms. And it's like you feel like garbage. You're not as productive. You don't get out of negative states as quickly. And there's so many like side effects with that. But it's like, look at that one piece or look at what you're eating. Of course, you're going to feel like garbage if you're eating horribly. Like, are you getting outside? Are you getting sunlight? Like, there's so many practical things that you can do to even start building and encouraging yourself to get better, to do, because you are okay in sickness until you know what wellness is. And when you feel great, you never want to go back to sickness. It's like you're okay in poverty until you taste what it feels like to not have to worry about money. And it's like once you never have to worry about money, you never want to go back to worrying about money. It's the same. It's like if you can taste and get a glimpse of what a happy life or freedom could look like, then you won't want to go back there.
Yeah. No, and I think that that's true because you see videos of people in other countries who have significantly less than we do in America, and they are significantly happier, right? Because they're just so used to, like, what they have and, like, that's good for them, like, that's enough kinda thing.
Because they live simply,
Yeah, they live very
simplicity.
simply.
Yeah.
And then once you add in more and the more you have and we're a consumer economy, right? Here in the state, like here in America, but like we're a consumer driven economy. So it's like we're always consuming, we're always wanting more, we're always, kind of um the new shiny little toys always waved right in front of our face, right? Like, come get it kind of thing. Like, come get the new phone, come get the new this, come get the new car, come get the new clothes, come get the new shoes, come get the new this, that, and the other kind of thing. That's like you'll be more special if you have this and this and this and that and that and that.
Yeah.
And if that's what you can do, great. But that's not going to bring you happiness, kind of thing. That'll bring you attention, but it's not going to bring you happiness, right?
Well, I think human beings don't actually want to be happy. We have been fed that lie that just make yourself happy or do what makes you happy. That's a lie. People
Yeah.
don't actually want to be happy. They want to be fulfilled and have purpose.
Hmm.
We are willing to suffer for something that we feel fulfilled by. And so that's why the shiny object and the new relationship and this and that and the other is great until it's not. It's like lasts just such a brief time because it doesn't bring the happiness. And chasing happiness is a chase that you will have for the rest of your life because it's unattainable. Happiness is not attainable, but if you chase purpose, then it fulfills a lot of different aspects. And I would even take it a step further to, a huge thing that I did beyond like the practical is I really came to Jesus a lot. Like, I think we dismiss the fact that we serve a supernatural God and we put him in little boxes that he never is supposed to be in. He doesn't belong there. And, the Bible says, go into the closet in secret and pray to the Lord. And I did that a lot. I would read scripture every day, and I still do. That's a like absolute necessary thing. And I would seek the Lord and just pray. And like in the beginning, I didn't want to read the Bible. I didn't want to even pray. I didn't even think it would work. I thought it was beautiful. But what I noticed with time is the more I read, I would like I would make myself read. And instead of me trying to change all these things, because I was reading scripture and applying it, like by default, I started changing. I wasn't even trying to change. But the more, because the Bible is a living word, it's actually does something inside of you, and God actually uses it, and He speaks to you. It says it goes between the bone and marrow, meaning it goes to the deepest part, and there's nothing hidden with God. So when I was reading it, God would start dealing with me about things. Like there's so many moments that God would show me just in a second, like a pattern that I had my whole life that it would have taken me 10 years in therapy to figure out this is why I got here and what I'm doing and why I'm struggling. And like the more I would read, by default, I would change. Like, and we dismiss that component. And sometimes coming to God and saying, God, I don't know how. I don't know what therapist. I don't know who. I don't know where to begin. Please help me, and just keep asking the Lord, and He will show you. He will bring you the right videos sometime, the right person. Like sometimes He will just free you in a moment from something you've struggled with your whole life. But He's a supernatural God and He loves to do stuff like that. Like He set me free in supernatural moments often because I had a ton of stuff. Some things I had to walk out, but I definitely did that a lot because even I did it like in business. God, I don't know how to start a business. I'm a single mom with 2 kids. I'm working 2 jobs and I'm trying to start this business. Or should I make this decision? And like he was so good with like showing me what to do. And we dismiss that. But that, if you get that right, everything else will fall into place. If you get you and God, not religious, not I say I believe in God and go to church, but nothing in my life reflects that I believe in God, but I actually am seeking Him and spending time with Him. Get this right. Make this pure, sincere, and honest. Everything else will fall into place. I guarantee it. This is the biggest piece, and we often miss that. And I love the practical stuff, but there is a point that you have done all the work and the practical things that it's got to be you and God. Those things can't fulfill and do in you what only God can do. Man can't give you what only God can give you. Man can't do for you what only God can do for you. And so there is a point where every person, doesn't matter who they are, they will come to a point where it's just them and God. Nobody can go there with you, but you and God.
Yeah,
That's where the game really changes.
100%. Well, because it's liberation at that point, right? Like, you're liberated, um, from the things of the world, and you're stepping into the things that are beyond, not beyond this world, but are a part of this world, but not a part of this world, right? They're the spiritual things, the deeper things, the more connected things, and I think that's where liberation lies, right? We can get there. It's all there. It's all there for each of us. It's all in front of us. And so I think that's just something important to remember and
But
to
I
go
don't think
with there.
I know, like for me, I didn't even realize all the places I needed freedom. I didn't realize how much my thinking was so small. I didn't realize a lot of things. And you only start realizing that the more time you spend with God, then He starts showing you, like, actually, I know in the world, this is how they do things, but I can flip that upside down and show you a different way. Like, I know you
Mhm.
didn't realize this, but I can show you like we don't even realize the great depth of who God is and how the more yielded you are to Him, the more free you become. But you can't become free knowing Him. You have to yield to Him. You have to surrender to Him. And then that's where, freedom comes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's amazing to realize that, to get to that point, because I will say not everyone gets to that point. A lot of Christians don't even get to that point
Yeah.
because
And
it's
that's
just
why they're in
something.
bondage. They're in bondage. They're always struggling. And that doesn't have to be your story. That doesn't have to be you.
Yeah. No, because I mean, I think you're a great example of that, right? Like, your story very well could be, defined by several key moments, right? Like, you mentioned the abuse you had when you were a kid. You mentioned the living with an addict and going through that experience of addiction as a spouse of someone with addiction, and then raising kids in that environment. I'm sure, co-parenting and things like that with an addict. And I'm not sure that story and whatnot, but I know that's never easy with dealing with someone with addiction, that's really close to you. My mother's an addict, and so it's always been, I know as a child how difficult that can be to see your parent and to see them be unhealthy and unwell. And where was I going with that thought? But like, your story very easily could be defined by very few key moments, right? And I think that's what a lot of people do. They take these key moments, right? They take whether that's some abuse that happened to them. It's like, oh, I'm defined by that for the rest of my life now.
Mhm.
Or they take that addiction that maybe they went through, or maybe they were, secondhand to somebody else, and okay, that's my experience now for the rest of my life. Or they take a divorce and okay, that's my experience now for the rest of my life. This is who I'm going to be, kind of thing, for the rest of my life. Or it's like these very small, in the grand scheme of things, very small moments that we let define us, and we do that almost every day, I think, too, where we let one bad little moment, one thing that didn't go our way, one thing that didn't go to plan, one thing that didn't line up perfectly. And I'm not saying, Elena, your experiences are little in the grand scheme of things, because those are
Mhm.
big defining moments, or anyone else's. I'm not trying to invalidate those, but I'm saying when you kind of zoom out, like Elena's saying here, and you ask and you seek and you build that relationship with God and whatnot, right? Like you get liberated from those things. They don't define you anymore. They don't hold you back. They don't hold you back in that bondage any longer once you can move forward with Christ through to heal those things.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he does it. All you need to do is seek the Lord and be with him, and he will do the work. And that was the thing, to be honest, that was the thing that shocked me so much because I was obsessed with wellness and I'm a go-getter. I get things done. I don't wait around for, that's my personality. But I was so surprised because I had done so much work trying to recover. I did all these different things to change. I was doing neuroplasticity and changing my mind. And I was obsessed with this stuff. And then when I started really reading scripture and just being with Jesus, I didn't have to do the work. Like it just, that was a byproduct of being with him. And that's what people don't understand. Even in the Christian world, it's like you can be a Christian, but if you're not with him, the byproduct of being with Jesus is a changed life. It's a different way you look at the world. It's a different way you handle life. So, you can't get there without him. And we'll do the church thing and we'll like get one little verse and we put it on our social media and we think that that's and it's like it's so empty. You reach nobody. You're just like the world. So you have nothing to give people. And it's like if you would just focus on one thing, and that's to be with him. Be with him. Read the scriptures, spend the time. It's not easy at first, but with time, you build that. And when you get that right, everything changes. It really does because your filter changes because then you've opened your life up to God speaking to you and showing you things and revealing not what you think, but revealing deeper layers of your heart and healing deeper things that you never even knew that you struggled with and showing you a different path that could be yours and not what you're currently on. Like an entire world opens up to you when you do that. And I am definitely a living testament because I really, even my therapist was like, I haven't seen her in a long time, but I remember when God was doing stuff in me, she's like, you really shouldn't be where you are. You should be addicted, which I had bouts of addiction for sure. She's like, but you should be in a completely different place. Like I should be either dead, I should be, depressed and on medication. I should be empty and have severe anxiety. There is nothing about like when you meet me, you would never know that I went through all that I went through because when Jesus does the work, he heals the very residue of that work. Like it doesn't come out. You are what you are comes out. Like you can't hide it. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
What you are bleeds. So when Jesus is going and dealing with the core of you, because that's how he does, he doesn't want surface level, let me fix this behavior. He's like, let me go to the core of why you even have that behavior and let's work on that. And so Jesus goes to the core. And then what comes out of you is what he's working on. He wants what comes out of you to be what's been healed in the core. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks, the Bible says. So he's always after the core of who we are. And so that's a huge piece that has been missing in the mental and emotional health space. And without it, you can become healed, but you will never be free. You will never be able to fully turn a leaf. You'll always have this nagging past, always beckoning you to come back to its fold, always.
mhm. Yeah, no, 100%. And I think one way you can simplify it, right, is like the world was telling you, right, like you should be addicted, you should be depressed and on pills, like you should be all these things. Like that's the world telling you you should be all these things.
You have every reason.
Exactly. You have every reason, you have every excuse, you have every justification to to be all these things, right? And then you simplify it. It's like, okay, well, that's what the world says. Jesus says I'm all this. Which one's more true? Which one's more believable? Obviously. Like which one's man-made? Which one's heaven-made? And I think that's an easy way to simplify this is, okay, is it coming from the world or is it coming from Jesus? If it's coming from the world, it's probably a bunch of bunch of BS to an extent, right? There are real things out there, the mental health and emotional health spaces kind of thing, but there are elements that are missing and that need that there's just some places in your life that you just need Jesus, um, so that you can truly heal, so that you can truly move forward with your life and truly become more than you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is like you don't have to figure it all out. Like you have do not have to know all the things. Just say, Jesus, I don't know. Show me. Help me. One step at a time. Like you don't have to have all the answers of how to fix your, position or your mental health or your trauma. Like you don't have to have all the answers for that. You just have to come to him. He said, come to me, those who are weary and heavy burdened, and I'll give you rest. Meaning, like, you don't have to stress about working all this stuff out. Come to him. And then, yeah, there is definitely a lot of practical things like, what are your habits? What are your patterns? What are you doing? Everything affects everything. You cannot just heal your mind and then not take care of the body and not take care of the spirit. They all interact and feed one another. So it's like, there's people who might be physically fit and healthy, but their mind is a mess. So eventually their body's going to get sick because their mind is a mess. God wants to heal all aspects of you. So all of that matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Elena, this has been a great conversation. Let's wrap this thing up. I think that's a great place to leave that part of the conversation, because it all matters. It all matters to God. He wants to heal all of it, but you have to let him. You have to let him.
You know,
You have to be willing. You have to be willing. So yeah, let's jump into the dad zone and then wrap this thing up. So into the dad zone, welcome. It's 4 questions that I created just to craft like a kind of a fun outro to bring the conversation back down a little bit before ending all the way. So first question in the dad zone, Elena, does pineapple go on pizza?
yes,
Okay. Interesting choice there. Who are 3 people, dead or alive, that you would like to invite over for dinner?
Jesus naturally would be one of them. I would be interested in inviting Cleopatra. I think I'm fascinated by her. And then probably, I think Joshua, who followed Moses, because he saw a lot. And like, I find his story very interesting of how he came to lead, the Israelites. So yeah, those are
Definitely.
my 3 people.
I like it. What is your guilty pleasure food?
My guilty pleasure, probably really, really good dessert.
I like it. I like it. And then what is one piece of advice that you would offer to a new mom, age 18 to 22, who's just starting out her motherhood journey?
Keep it simple. Keep things simple. If you have new babies, rest as much as they can. Don't know that it's a season. Life is in seasons. So this season won't be forever. So just know I just got to kind of handle this. It's going to be hard. Sometimes people don't tell you raising babies is hard and it's going to be a hard season. It's going to stretch you, but it's only a season. It won't last forever. And try to keep things as simple. Like don't get carried away with all the books and this person's advice. And I did this for my baby. Like, no, just know your child, try different things and do it what is right for you and that baby. Everybody has their own advice. You can listen to it, but do what's best for you. Don't try to use someone else's version of motherhood and make that yours. You know your baby. God gave you everything that you need to make it right. The same with your family dynamics, with your spouse. Take the good advice and throw the bad out and keep it simple.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. And now for the listener, this part's for you. This is your clear takeaway, reflection, and action for this week. So the takeaway I hope you have is healing doesn't have to be complicated. God designed your mind, your body, and spirit to work together, and freedom comes when you untwist the lies that keep you stuck. Your reflection for this week is what is one area of your emotional life where you've been complicating what God made simple? And then your action I want you to take is tonight write down one emotional knot, one lie, one fear, one pattern, and ask, is this from God or is this something that I need to untwist? Then commit to one small action that aligns with truth, biblical truth, that is. And so that's your CTRA for this week. If you missed any of that or we're zoning out a little bit, go ahead and rewind 30 seconds. Let's do that again. And then lastly, you can grab Elena's book, Untwist Me, the uncomplicated life hacks for a mental and emotional liberation. I'm going to pull it up here on Amazon because that's where we get basically everything these days. You can get it in Kindle, you can get it on Audible, you can get it on hardcover, you can also get it on paperback as well with Prime. Um, and yeah, it's right there. So that's where you can get our book. Any other important things? They can also find you on, of course, social media, Facebook, Instagram. YouTube, website?
All of the above. And then I have a website, yeah, elenahuggins.com.
Perfect. Well, Elena, a huge thank you to you for joining me today and sharing the message that just how Jesus has worked in your life, how healing can be simple, freedom is available, and Jesus still restores when trauma exists, and trauma has changed you. He can untwist you and undo a lot of those on wounds and heal them, truly heal them. So if this episode encouraged you, challenged you, or reminded you that emotional health and faith go hand in hand, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and keep growing with us. And make sure you throw away your trash. You know, the missus isn't gonna like you leaving your juice box and your snack wrappers out. Make sure you throw your trash away. And until next time, keep leading with love, walking in truth, and showing up for your people. This is the Young Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.